when you've got a good culture, is there no dumb questions? The nice thing about coaching these days is a lot of it's down to man management. You've got to think quick and you've got to act quick, but you don't have to do it at 100 miles an hour. You have to fail. To be good, you have to fail. Sydney's a big place, but there's no excuse. If you want to be connected to this team, you have to get together. And you've got to make an effort to get together, and you've got to want to do it because the country cares. It matters.
Oh, the country.
It matters.
Yes.
It matters. It's not just a game.
Welcome to 𝐾𝐿 Culture, the podcast about cultivating culture and leadership. I'm Ben Herring, and I've been loving this side of the game for bloody ages. Today's guest is Mike Catt. Mike was born in Port Elizabeth, South Africa, before he moved to England, made his debut for Bath in 1992. He's then gone on to play 227 games for Bath, 76 for London Irish, 75 for the English national team, and the British and Irish Lions. After retiring from playing, he started his coaching, where he started at London Irish and went on to have a decade as an attack coach for England, Italy and Ireland. Nowadays, he prefers the warmer weather of Sydney, where he's attack coach for the Waratahs. And as we speak, he's overlooking from his apartment the Coogee Oval in Coogee Beach. Mike Catt, 33 years in pro rugby at the highest level. Welcome to the 𝐾𝐿 Culture podcast.
Thank you very much. Nice to have you.
Mate, how are you doing, mate? How are you enjoying the sunshine at Coogee Beach?
It's dreadful, to be honest. I mean, it's 25 degrees, 26 degrees, 7 o'clock at night, not much wind. People are still walking around the beach. Everybody playing down on the oval. So it's pretty tough, to be honest. It's a tough life at the moment. After dinner, I'll go down and have a kick with my little fella, with Alice, and then we'll go from there, really. But no, it's been incredible. It's been an incredible journey. I've been here for a year now. The rugby side's obviously been tough with Waratahs. There's been a lot of change, but a great challenge. And we've just started our second pre-season. So, and we've just had our first week, and it's gone exceptionally well so far.
That's right, mate. Well, I guess the really interesting one is, well, what inspired the move, mate? You're a long time in the UK, in Europe.
I think I've always been a person about experiences, and I've had the most incredible experiences around the world from rugby. And this was pretty much Australia for me. Was exactly how I sort of grew up in South Africa, in Port Elizabeth. I was close to the beach. You know, you had your nippers, your life-saving. You had absolutely everything. You're outdoors all the time, loads of space, safe as anything. And I just thought it's the last time that I'm going to give my kids, Ellis and Aaron, 14-year-old and 16-year-old, the chance to experience what I experienced growing up. And so when I got an opportunity after the Ireland job, Dan McKellar phoned me and he said, would you be interested in it? And I thought, yeah, why not? It's been an amazing experience so far. My son's really enjoyed it. My daughter's just arrived and she's loved it so far. So great place to live, great culture, great people, just outdoorsy. I absolutely love it. It's awesome.
Mate, it's quite cool that it's come full circle, right? From starting in Port Elizabeth on the beach to now you're 33 years later, you're in professional rugby, you're back on the beach.
I know. And, again, just getting up in the morning at 5, 6, go for a little play around with a ball, and then jumping in the sea with the sun. It's just special moments, It's what my dad did with me. So for me to replicate that is massive. So it's, it's just another experience for my kids, for myself, for the family. So, I've loved it so far.
How have you done it, mate? 33 years, like not many people can say they've been in professional rugby at the very highest level for 3 decades. How have you managed to do it, and how's it shaped and grown you?
How have I done it? I love it, Ben. I absolutely I've always loved the game. I've loved what it gives you physically. I've loved the mental toughness that it puts you through. I've loved the highs of it are so high. And I think through schooling, it was the number one sport in South Africa. Everybody's massively passionate about it. And then when I came over to the UK, we won everything. I turned up as a 21-year-old, and you just turned up at a club back then. You didn't have to come through any academies or something. Turned up, played for the third team. Ended up a year later playing for the first team, and the whole England team pretty much played for Bath at the time. So I'd been watching them in the Five Nations then, turned up, played for the third team, got into the first team, and Bath were winning everything. So as a young 21, 22-year-old, to play with some of the best players in the world, your Jeremy Guscotts, your Stuart Barnes, your Ben Clarks, and be winning on a regular basis was just the amazing introduction to sort of rugby in the UK, and winning in those amateur days was proper fun. I mean, we had proper fun. It was proper fun. Yeah. So we're very, very fortunate. We had like 7 internationals in our second team. So, you played Wednesday nights, you played Saturday. It was just amazing. Bath was buzzing, a little bit like Bath is now. They're very successful again now, which is great. But the players they had, and going into that sort of environment really taught me a lot about myself and how you need to deal with things. I think one of the big things when I first turned up in Bath, they weren't the easiest of players to get along with, in terms of they wouldn't really talk to you or acknowledge you unless you were a good rugby player.
Oh.
But when you proved your worth on the pitch, they're your best mates for life. So I've got some incredible blokes now that have helped me along the way, that have directed me, and from that, and it was incredible as a young kid to have that experience. But you had to earn your stripes before you got accepted, which was very interesting, very different to what it is today.
Yeah, how does that compare to today? What's your take on that, mate? How's the difference in modern professional rugby?
Well, I think it's you got to come in and be yourself these days. You got to everybody's got to be accepted. It's all that sort of stuff. So there's still a little bit of respect. You got to earn your respect and earn your stripes, but there's a lot more of accepting and everybody buying in, and a lot of the times you come through all academies these days as well. So people know you, the coaches know you. So you got a history at the club already and all that sort of stuff. Whereas in the past, guys could just turn up and you just played. So it's very different, but again, exceptionally, it was so good to go through.
Yeah.
Amateur days, those 4 or 5 years of amateur days. I didn't know what else I was going to do. I wasn't the most academically driven, to be fair. I just wanted to play rugby, and you never got paid to play rugby. So when I went professional in 95, 96, obviously, it just became something so special for me. I was getting paid to do something that I just loved. It was an escape for me, rugby. The more time I spent out on a rugby pitch was a lot easier than I was escaping life, really. I could just throw the ball around, kick the ball around, and just spend hours and hours and hours. All the rubbish about family stuff and all this sort of all went when I went on a rugby pitch. So I just spend more and more time on it. So no, I just loved it. I just absolutely loved it. And pushing yourself to the limit, pushing your physical self to the limit. I prided myself a lot on the fitness side of it. So I went hard on the fitness side. And it was just brilliant job, brilliant people you got involved with. And I saw the world, honestly incredible. Absolutely love it. And that's why I love it even more.
Yeah. Well, mate, you're certainly escaping to a beautiful part of the world right now, mate. Coogee Beach.
That I am. Yeah.
So, mate, just on that though, do you think it's like for a lot of players that escapism is an important part of the game, where you get to be something that you potentially don't get to be anywhere else in life? Like you get to go and be tough and physical and do that side of things. You don't get that anywhere else, do you? Is that a massive part of the game?
Yeah, I can only speak for myself, really. Because you're a different animal when you're on the pitch. You're not the same person. You're not the same person, and everybody thinks, and it rubs a lot of people up the wrong way, how you change or you become more competitive or something, but you're a different person on the pitch.
Yeah.
You're not yourself. You're this animal that's put in so much time, so much hard work, and you're striving for something with a team, a group of guys that you just don't know if you're going to get or not. But you're giving it a good old shot, And for me, that's the exciting part of it all. But when you come off it, the humbleness, the humility, the ego goes out the door, everything goes out the door, and you just become your normal self again. And that, what I really liked was chopping and changing between the two. But it's hard to deal with sometimes from a press point of view or people's perception of you as an individual. And that's what drives you even harder sometimes, or it can hurt certain players. And we're definitely seeing that now with social media and all that with some of the youngsters these days that, they do read it and they get affected by it. We only had newspapers we had to read. And I stopped reading them at a very early age because the amount of abuse I'd get on the thing would be like, oh, geez. But they just didn't know you as a person or anything like that. So, but yeah, so they're two different character sides of you. I think when you how you've been brought up at home to then how you've been brought up on a rugby pitch is I think it's very different.
It is very different.
Well, it has to be. I think it has to be. I don't think you could be the same person all the way along. It's very hard.
How do you encourage the players you coach to find that essentially alter ego and be someone else? Do you encourage it?
I think I think if you love something, you will do what it takes to. You'll find that way to get into that position. Whether you're the most skillful or not is irrelevant. I think, I've seen a lot of guys that aren't very skillful, but just have this genuine want to achieve something that's out there. And again, they don't know whether they're going to get it or not, but they're going to put themselves out there above the parapet, and they're going to challenge themselves, and they're going to challenge the people around them to help them get to where they want to go. And I think that's the nice thing about coaching these days is a lot of it's down to man management. The belief in a player, getting the player to believe, upskilling the player so he can be calm and connected when he plays and he's in sync and he's in the moment, all that sort of stuff. I think it's crucial. It's crucial. But yeah, the alter ego has to come out.
How do you man manage people in that regard, Mike? Like it's an interesting skill set, isn't it?
Yeah, I think understanding's a huge one. Understanding what you do and how you do it is crucial. I've gone down the route when I was with Ireland the last sort of couple of years. We went down a route of real calmness in attack, especially in our attacking game. The real calmness, and you don't have to do everything at 100 miles an hour. You got to think quick. You got to think quick and you got to act quick, but you don't have to do it at 100 miles an hour. You can do it at 30-40% running speed. You're nice and calm. The defense is coming 100 miles an hour, so why go at 100 miles an hour? And what happens is the players then start understanding what it looks like and what it feels like. And that's, they see the picture all the time. They have time to see the picture all the time. And I'm pretty much just coaching how I played as a player. Because I wasn't the biggest guy, I learned to kick and pass the ball very quickly in my career, avoid contact at all costs sort of thing, and move the ball. So from that point of view, but you, especially at international level for me, Ben, is you have to be calm. All the best players, I've broken it all down. Your Daniel Carters, your Johnny Wilkinsons, all these guys were, especially Daniel Carter for me, he'd run around the pitch at 30-40% running speed. But his decision rate, Finn Russell currently, he saunters around the pitch, but he puts himself in the right position. He might be rushed, but he can still execute it because his skill set's so good. So there's that stepping stone of upskilling players to get to a certain level where they don't need to think about their skill. So they can just feel it. And that's what I'm doing with our forwards currently with the Waratahs. There's a huge emphasis on that. We did that with Ireland as well. And once that calmness comes in, the efficiency then comes in. So from a forward's point of view is when you start moving the ball a little more, you move to space a little bit easier or better. The defenses are moving and you become efficient as a group of players because you're not running into brick walls all the time. And for me, that's crucial. So therefore your scrum, your line out and all the other bits and pieces these forwards have to go through, but they have to understand what we're trying to do. And it's a team understanding. It's not just an individual understanding. Sorry, I've digressed a bit there, mate.
No, I love that. It's a really cool topic, mate, because you're talking about this calmness. And if you go 100% in whatever you're doing, you don't always get to feel what the success looks like to actually get the patterning and things. But would you say that calmness, are you training the mental side of it or the physical side of it or a bit of both?
Both. So I've gone, it's been really interesting how it's digressed or I've sort of moved to this sort of part of the game. I remember New Zealand in 2013, 14, 15, their tight five were incredible rugby players. They moved the ball so well, great decision making at the line and all that sort of stuff. And I sort of on the back of that just went, right, we've got to upskill all our forwards. Our forwards have to be able to move the ball. And you're only talking about a 3-4 meter pass. You're not talking about a 30 meter or a 10 meter pass at all. So all the small, sharper, shorter passes, that really manipulate a defense, but at the line and understanding it. But you've got to be calm enough to be able to see that picture. And when you're calm, if you can see a picture, you know what's coming. So therefore, you're going to be calmer. So coach the scanning side of it. Coach how you stand on the pitch. So don't stand there and stare at the ball when it's coming from a ruck on your left hand side because you're not seeing anything that the defense is doing. So go to a continual scanning or a right. I can see the ball coming and I can still scan in front of me. And so I know what's coming. And if everybody's doing the same scanning process, for me, they're all seeing the same picture unfold. So therefore it becomes everybody's on the same page. And that's the classic everybody's on the same page type mentality. So all the guys out the backs are then staring at or looking at the same thing. They don't have to go back on the ball till the ball's there. They then seeing the defense move or not move, and they then make decisions accordingly. But it's all done at 30-40% of your running speed. It doesn't need to be done quick.
Does that take it down? But do you have to break a few habits as a coach to...
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. even head coaches, there's you'll always revert back to type. And I think that was the beauty about coaching at international level, especially like going to a team like Ireland. Their knowledge of the game and their ability to change literally instantly was incredible. And they bought into it very, very quickly in terms of the upskilling of it, the movement. So but again, it takes a year and a half, depending what sort of players you've got to get them to a certain level. So you've got to cop it for a year and a bit as an attack coach when you go to a new environment, because everybody's like, what is going on here? And even with Andy Farrell, we copped it for a good year and a half before we actually started seeing it all unfold. So you know where you're going. And it's a little bit like this year, our second season with the Waratahs now. I'd like to think that we'll be streets ahead of where we were in January. Streets ahead. Just because there's a much better understanding of it.
Why do you think the Irish particularly were good at transitioning?
They loved the game. They studied they were students of the game. The knowledge they had the knowledge they have. There are no egos there. I was working with guys like Johnny Sexton and Gary Ringsrose. These guys were so far ahead of what I knew, but they wanted real detail. So I'm a little bit fluffy. So I had to try and we met halfway, I think, from that side of things where, there's got to be feel. You've got to enjoy yourself. You got to do it right, but you got to relax and make people around you feel good as well. And I think but the Irish studied the amount of work they do is mind blowing. How much work they do off the pitch and then are able to transfer that off the pitch into a game. They're exceptional at it. Very
That's
intelligent
cool.
people.
How
Yeah,
did
and great people.
Yeah, they are. How did you get across that fact, mate, when you're dealing with the likes of Sexton and Ringrose, who are super detailed, and that's maybe not you're more fluffy. How do you embrace those guys in a team? Because that's a stress for a lot of coaches when you're dealing with your best players in the team who are.
Well, you pick your fights, Benny. You pick your fights.
And put lead weights in your gloves.
Yeah. And what I sort of found working with all those top players, working with Owen Farrell and George Ford and those guys, is you let them be them. You let Johnny Sexton be Johnny Sexton. And what you do is you real focus on all the guys around them to bring them up to that level, to get them up to that level where, Johnny or an Owen could just focus on their own games and they don't have to be telling anybody anything. So that's where I put all myself, Faz, Si used to be, and Paulie O'Connell. We just put all your efforts into the guys around them to then bring them up to that level, so everyone is on that level playing field. And it makes a huge difference because then Johnny can relax. Johnny can be himself. Johnny can just play his game. He's not worrying about anybody else. And I think that was something that we that's why we went down that route.
Yeah. Did you have any failures on that front?
Yeah,
Any
we had tons of
misses?
failures. Yeah,
What's
I
your
mean
favourite
that's that'd be telling now, wouldn't it? No, you have to fail. To be good, you have to fail. You have to fail. You have to yeah, you just everything takes time. Everything takes time. But the minute they get it, is the minute that things just, escalate. It's brilliant.
I love it, mate.
It's great when they get it right.
That's always a nice bit, mate, for sure.
Yeah.
Now, Mike, we've delayed on the question which we normally open with, and that is, how do you define culture?
Wow, it's a great question because it's ever changing for me. It's ever changing with different coaches, different players, new players coming in, older players going out. What is culture? Culture for me is an environment where people genuinely care. So, and again, my main example, I think it's shown on the Lions tour, was Andy Farrell. What I've learned from him over the past 5-6 years, or 10, 12 years since I've known him, has been incredible in terms of there's this care for the player, for the individual, but there's also this care for the bigger picture thing that's just so powerful. And it's hard to put a finger on it, but when he talks to you, it's from deep inside. It's I don't know if I'm explaining it properly, but it's such he just wants the best for you. But there's no fluffy bits or anything like that. He has a laugh, but he's straight up and it's just this, right, this is what the team needs you to do, da 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 da, and how he does it, and how it's a real, it's just genuine care for the people around him. A lot of fun, a lot of fun, but obviously the expectation of, so when you've got a culture, you need an expectation of that. No excuse environment for me is good as well. With this day and age, not many of these professional athletes should be bitching and moaning about anything. They've got everything. They're getting paid. They get nutrition. They get sports science. They get everything they want. And for me, that no excuse environment, there's no ways a player can turn around to somebody and start bitching and moaning about something when they've got everything. They've got everything. So embrace it, go with it, and give your best performance on the back of it. Apply yourself and love what you do.
Has it changed over the years, you reckon, from your early days, the culture makeup of teams?
Yeah, I think for me it has, and I've been very lucky to experience so many other, back in the early 2000s, you had a lot of egos. even back in the 90s, your Dean Richards, Brian Moores, Jeremy Guscotts, these levels were the proper ego sort of thing. And that's really definitely come out of the game a lot of the time. There's a lot more of a unity within a team, I think. And I think that's where teams have got a lot. Culture means so much more now than it did in the past. In the past, it was you turning up, you surviving, you need to get picked for the next week to play against South Africa. So I'm going to do absolutely everything to make that happen. But I'm going to have 10 pints with my mates before I do it. So, but anyway, you could cut that bit out.
No, mate, I think it's a really valid point. Like it did almost feel like survival, isn't it, when you go into those older teams back in 20 years ago or so? Like,
100%, 100%. Yeah, you survived.
Well,
Yeah, you
I
just
remember,
wanted to get picked the next week.
yeah, and
Yeah.
after you've played a half a dozen games, then the coach will talk to you. Until then, just stay in your seat in the corner as a young fella.
Yeah, you just shut up and get on with it. And I think that's the other thing with young guys coming in. The other sort of line you'd use is when you've got a good culture, is there no dumb questions?
Yeah.
There are no dumb questions. So have the ability, whatever type of rugby player you are, where you've come from or whatever, if you've got a good culture inside you, there's not going to be a dumb question. So ask it. Even if it's in your head, it's the dumbest thing in the world. Somebody else might, whatever. And I think if you can get to that stage where there are no dumb questions, everybody then voices their opinion. They're free to be able to do that then without being laughed at or whatever. I think it makes a huge difference too, by accepting everybody and making sure everybody's on the same page.
That's a great point, mate. No dumb questions. I think that is a great rule to have for alignment, isn't it? Because if you're a dash unsure, you ask what you think's a dumb question, but then you're sure by the end of it. So it's actually not a dumb question.
But also, there could be 10 other people thinking of the same question but don't have the balls to say it. So that, again, it just helps the team or triggers something else. So that ability to do that is good culturally as well.
I think it's an interesting example, mate. I've had a couple of days lately with primary school kids where we've done little sessions, and the amount of questions, you think you're being straight, but all the hands go up and they are just questions which you think would be equivalently dumb questions, like, do I need to tie my shoelaces? Yes. Do I need to catch the ball when it comes to me? Yes. And these sort of questions. But that's almost, when you're young, you're not afraid to ask dumb questions. You just do it. It's not until you get a bit older, right? Then it sort of comes out of your psyche. You feel stupid, or you feel like it's not, you have all these issues and sentiments.
100%.
Yeah. We almost need to get
100%.
back to that, don't we? Get back to the primary school where you just chuck your hand up the whole time.
Well, that's good environment. That's definitely what I've been involved in the past, and it makes a huge difference. People are so much more at ease, and they can be a little bit more themselves, and that makes a huge difference. And they want to come into environments like that. There's no stress, there's no whatever, there's enough on the game for them to worry about. You don't need every single day to have that emotional stress chucked on you as well. So just free yourself up and go with it.
That's right, mate. And certainly across not only primary school classrooms, but you've coached across the world, mate. Like, what bits stand out for you as like things that different teams did well? You talked about some of those great players in Ireland, the Ringroses and the Sextons, but what differences stand out culturally from Ireland to Italy to Australia to England?
I think, South Africa's these are sort of growing up the competitive nature of the game in South Africa. Growing up, you didn't walk back through the door at home if you hadn't won a game of rugby. There was this real, like, you only come home if you win. You're like, oh my God. So there's this real competitive, real tough, hardcore mentality growing up, which was just incredible. I mean, it really is, and it's still there now, and it's with South African rugby. For me, it's more than just rugby. It's not just a game of rugby.
Yeah.
It's the history, and I think that's where I think Rassie Erasmus has done so well in terms of embracing that. It's not just about the game of rugby. It's about you and your mates, where you've come from, how you've got here, the country, what it's gone through over the past 30, 40 years, that sort of stuff that they really tie into. And that's that emotional drive that I think the South Africans have currently got and are winning games with the skill set and everything now that's coming through. England would be very much especially when I first went over there, would be, it was very much 10-man rugby. You didn't play the big free-flowing, throwing the ball around. Your Rob Andrews are kicking it every time, and 10-man rugby on the back of it. And then, you know what I mean? So you sort of had the big physical stuff that happened. And then with Ireland, again, they were again, so students of the game. They understood it so well. They were so fit, or are so fit, sorry. They are such a fit team. And I think from their background with GAA, hurling, and football, I think their skill set's huge. But again, they're punching so far above their weight, like Italy. How many people actually play rugby in Ireland? How many people actually play rugby in Italy? And for these guys to be competing and sitting at the top table and being the best in the world is, honestly, it's phenomenal. If you look back at it, you guys of South Africa, where you've got hundreds of thousands of people that play the game and the competition, and it's your number one sport too. Same with New Zealand. There's only a small batch of people that actually play the game, but it is their number one sport.
Yeah.
So it's different. It means, your South Africans, New Zealand's, it's more than just a game of rugby.
I think it's fascinating, Mike, how you talk about the background shapes the way you play. So you said your upbringing in South Africa actually created this competitive edge around you. You're talking about the type of sports that are played in Ireland, the hurling and the Gaelic influences the way they can play the game. And if you can tap into that emotional drive, it becomes more than a game. I think it's really fascinating how you acknowledge the background plays a big part. And then if you can tap into that background, it actually magnifies it even more. Like what Rassie's doing as an Afrikaans person that knows the psyche of all the players. He's able to tap that emotional drive to make them feel like it's more than the game. And then it overemphasizes the way they play and play harder and more competitively, because he's got a drill that goes straight to the heart of what actually makes them work, right?
Because the country cares, it matters.
Oh, the country.
It matters.
Cares. Yes.
It matters. It's not just a game. It matters, and this is where Andy's so, especially Faz, Russie's done an exceptional job at it too. They all Wayne Smith, talking to Wayne Smith about it, when he was with Italy with us, and how they chopped and changed things as they went through, all the failures they went to then winning 2 in a row, World Cups in a row type thing. They made it more than just a game of rugby. Well, it is more than just a game of rugby in New Zealand. It's, I don't know what the word is, religion or whatever. It's as you know, it's, yeah. It's rugby plus.
How do you do it, mate? How do you do it now, trying to tap into a foreign country like Australia, trying to tap into that psyche to burrow down to the hearts of the players to make it matter for them?
Well, that's why I'm not the head coach. I'll let Dan McKellar, who's Australian, do that. He has a much better understanding of actually, how it works and what has worked in the past and stuff. So for me, I'm really focusing purely on the skill side of it, upskilling players, get a better understanding, and then Dan's the one that sort of comes more into the bigger picture stuff and the cultural stuff that comes with it. But and again, there's a lot of history there that you can tap into. And I think Australia need to find that again. They need to find it. They've got the athlete, but again, rugby union, what I've seen, you're competing against your rugby league, your AFL, your football, all that sort of stuff. And if you're not successful here in Australia, you don't get much airtime. So we need to get Waratahs back up to the top, and Wallabies need to be winning on a consistent basis. They should be. They've got the athletes. They've definitely got the athletes, and now it's how we can fine tune them to go back and eat at the main table at the top of world rugby, because that's where they should be.
And it's a bit of a balance, isn't it? Like, we're talking here about some of the cultural aspects, but when we're talking about cultural aspects, we're not neglecting the performance aspect, and we're not neglecting the skill sets and things like that. They all work together, don't they? We're not just saying focus on the
100%
and nothing else.
No.
You've got to do it all together.
You have to. You have to. Yeah, it has to be all together, and it should be. It's the package deal. And when you get to the top, that's where you can tweak things, go down the emotional route a little bit more. But upskilling of individuals and getting them to understand the game, for me, is very interesting at the moment, because especially coming down to Australia, in the UK, in Ireland, in Italy, and all that sort of stuff, because of the weather. Everybody knows how to kick a ball. Everybody knows down here in Australia, everybody knows how to kick a ball. When you're in school in Australia, very rarely are you taught how to kick the ball or manage a game or anything like that. The problem is when you get to Super Rugby, into your international rugby, you need a kicking game. You need a kicking game. So I feel that a lot of the time is, although you're producing these incredible athletes, some of them, the kicking side of the game is neglected. And that's where you come up against a team that can match you physically or match you with that physical ability. Then, you've got to have this ability in your armory. So I'm going down hard with the Waratahs at the moment. Everybody's got to kick a rugby ball and learn how to kick it.
That's right. And it doesn't help with the Randwick field that you're looking over, that our sons play for, that they have a policy of 0 kicking allowed. You get yelled out if you're on 5 meters out. It's the expectation is you play, right?
Yeah, well, I'm trying to change that at the moment, so we'll
good luck to you.
No, it's very interesting.
It's very now, mate. How we're talking about evolving players, Mike, but how do you keep evolving as a coach? Obviously, you love your attack side. How do you keep relevant? How do you keep upskilling at the level you're at, mate? Because you have to be on top of your game. How do you make sure you're growing your craft as a coach?
I think the nice thing about my sort of role is I've never stayed in one place for too long. So what I learned with England under Stuart Lancaster, working with Andy as assistant coach, Graham Roundtree, I sort of took some of that. When I went to Italy with Conor O'Shea, so I introduced that. I then learned a lot from the Italians and how, you were competing against the best in the world, so you were losing on a regular basis. So what did it become? It became more of an individual focus where I was trying to make the player individually better. Although you knew as a team you're pretty much going to lose because you very rarely won against your top teams. They were at that stage where they are, 7-8 years ago. And then taking that across to Ireland and working with Andy again was very exhilarating, because he wanted to change the way that Joe had played the game. Joe Schmidt had played previously for the previous and was very successful. He wanted to change that a little bit. And so we went down a completely different route in terms of what do we need to do? And we didn't know where we were going. And we just figured it out along the way. We knew we had a backbone of things we were going to look at, but that calmness and decision-making, all that sort of stuff is something that we really went hard into on the back of. And then obviously all I learned working with your Paul O'Connell, Simon Easterby's, and especially under Andy, to bring that knowledge to another environment for me has been gold. So not that it works, and some of the things do work, some of them don't work. So I've had to pick and choose a little bit this last year, but it's been really interesting how quickly Northern Hemisphere and Southern Hemisphere things work or don't work, what they want, what they don't want. It's been incredible. But I've learned little bits all along the way, and because they've been 4 or 5 year stints, pretty much, I've been able to introduce the new stuff that I've learned that into another. Like, I'm changing the way a few things I did with Ireland. I'm changing a few things that I'm doing now with Waratah, sort of thing. So that sort of stuff it just evolves. And again, if you study it and you love it and want to do it, you understand the caliber of player you've got, then you just keep growing, I suppose. I don't even say it's growing, I just keep loving it.
Oh, that's a lovely phrase. Not growing, just keep on loving it.
Yeah, because yeah.
What
I'm learning more from my 14-year-old than I am from some of these guys. Trying to coach my 14-year-old. It's awesome.
Love
awesome.
it. Yeah. Mate, well, here's a question for you. You talked then about you never stayed too long in one place. What do you reckon is the ultimate time for a coach before they should move on in order to...
I don't think there is. I don't think there is one. I don't think there is one. I think there's such a high turnover of players come and go. I think if you're successful and you keep going and you have core values or core people, certain coaches will move on, or S&C will move on, or whatever. There's always shift and change. So I just think for me, it's always just been about opportunity.
Yeah.
And I've been very fortunate and very lucky to be given an opportunity, and most of the time it's been relatively successful.
Yeah.
I
also loved how you just talked about how that little time with Italy, mate, and how the losing actually, you grew a lot through the losing element. And you were mentioning that it drove you to focus a bit more on the individuals and just making sure they got better each time, rather than, I presume, getting too caught up in the team's loss.
Yeah, because it could absolutely break you.
Yeah,
it genuinely could. It's soul destroying losing. If you've grown up in a certain way, a certain thing, I wasn't grown up a loser sort of thing, and then all of a sudden you're in an environment where shit, and you're given everything, but it's just not. And you understand it. The quicker you accept it and go, right, okay, what am I doing? What's right? The right thing for me to do is this: develop these players. Right, somebody's playing against Daniel Carter. Right, what do you do better than him, or what do you do that's relevant to him? And you just build that relationship, I suppose, with the players, and they feel they're getting better. They feel that they're getting better all the time. And then then all of a sudden we actually beat South Africa once, which was absolutely incredible with Italy. Never unheard of, really. And we ended up beating them in Italy, and it was just the most amazing thing. And you can see all of that hard work that they go through, and they work exceptionally hard. So they're playing some amazing rugby now.
That's right.
They're definitely eating at the top table there. So but that loss thing was tough, really, really tough. And as a coach, you sit there and you go, how am I going to get employed? Who's going to take me now? Do you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah,
you're not successful, so why? Who's going to take you? So that's why I was my relationship with Andy, and I was hugely, or am hugely grateful that he wanted me to come on board with him in Ireland, because you do, as a coach, going, oh, where do I go from here? And very lucky, and it's sort of been my whole sort of career, really. I've just been able to, things have jumped in my way, and I've just taken the opportunity and gone with it. So I must be doing something right, I suppose.
No, exactly right. And sometimes too, like it's the way you leave people, the way you leave individuals, they're your biggest cheerleaders, aren't they? They're the ones that future coaches look to, regardless of result. And they ask the players that you've coached, what is he like? And that's the feedback that actually keeps you relevant, keeps you getting roles, because the people that you're improving are speaking highly of you. I think that's always a really good thing, nice thing to know, because the team results, Italy are massively disadvantaged compared to all the other Six Nations, and everyone's aware of that. So then that little bit of insight by individuals is actually really important.
They were. They're not now. They were.
Mm,
They were. They play some brilliant rugby at the moment.
they do.
They're definitely sitting at the top table on the back of it. So,
That's
but
right.
yeah, very
Well,
tough.
mate, that's right, mate. So, and well, I guess I wanted to ask this question, mate, because I remember this when I was little, and you've probably had it a gazillion times, but you know what I'm going to talk about, I think. Just that one incident, that loss of yours when 1995, when Lomu ran over you. I loved it, being a New Zealander. But what was the response in the change room from the coach after that, man? What do you remember from that? Like, how does a coach talk to that incident?
Well, what can he? He's just been hammered by 40 points. You've just been knocked out of a World Cup. So, I think the way I sort of looked at it, was everybody knew I was by the end of that World Cup, all for the wrong flipping reasons, but everybody knew I was. And Jonah Lomu, that clip gets shown every 4 years. Even now, I get kids coming up to me going, "Oh, I saw you on YouTube. You got run over by Jonah Lomu." But I think those are the things that. I mean, that game was an incredible game. I mean, Jonah, he pretty much changed rugby union that World Cup. And people forget that, Jonah was part of one of the most incredible rugby teams. That New Zealand team was, 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐸 did a 45-meter drop goal, and it's the back row. Everything just went their way. And even to that day, I still remember the team meeting on the Friday night. Jack Ryle was our coach at the time. And he said to the Underwood brothers, because they were on the wings, and they were actually marking Jonah. And they asked them, like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do to stop Jonah? Oh, we're going to get in close. We're not going to give him any space or anything like that. And 18 hours later, the ball goes over the top. Tony Underwood is nowhere to be seen. Nowhere to be seen. And Lomu gets the ball in 40 meters of space. And if you look at the clip again, actually, Will Carling coming across, he ankle taps Jonah.
Yes.
So Jonah then starts stumbling as an 18-stone player with a gait like unbelievably big. You can't get your arms wrapped around it. And he's stumbling towards me. So like the 3 tries he scored after that one, he just ran around me. But unfortunately, this time he was stumbling and he had to run over something. So I had to just put myself in the way. And all of a sudden, the next thing is I'm lying on my arse and looking back, and there's Jonah scoring the first try of 4 or 5 that he scored that day. And I turned back around and there's Robin Brooke over the top of me going, "Mate, there's a lot more of that to come." I was like, oh my God, here we go. But just incredible experience to be part of a game like that, and I laughed at it from day one. I mean, it was hilarious. It is hilarious.
Yeah.
Can
you laugh at the games now, Mike? Can you laugh at maybe like at a loss like you did then?
Nah.
What's changed?
It's brutal. It's what's changed? That's a good question. What's changed? God, I suppose there's a bit more of an expectation. It's bigger. I don't know, Ben. I don't know.
Yeah, because it does feel like it's changed, mate. Like there'd almost be an expectation you couldn't be seen to be laughing at or just shrugging the shoulders, going, "Oh well." It's that goes.
Well, the nice thing about social media this day and age is they all like that one hit or something that's done super special or something like that. They all put music to it and it becomes the laughing stock or the big hit or anything like that. So they do actually in their own funny way. But yeah, I suppose not many of those things happen anymore because they're all they're all way bigger than Jonah Lomu was now.
That's right.
They're all the same size as Jonah was back then. Remember, it was amateur days, they were just different athletes. And the English, you never played New Zealand very often, never played South Africa very often, stuff like that. So there were different animals. Different animals. There was huge physical difference between the two, and skill and all that sort of stuff. But now everybody's pretty much on that level par now. There's very rarely do you see big incidents like that. Mind you, how Damien McKenzie scored that try on the weekend's pretty special as well against Scotland. It was just freakishly good for a smallish guy doing that. But yeah, no, it's yeah. Not sure where I'm going with that one.
I surmise it a little bit like this, mate. Like we're all pretty aware that when you just do the stats like that, like Jonah is not a big guy in today's rugby environment. He's just like he's big-ish, but the athletes have just changed through the roof, and we're all aware of that. But then when we come back to the point of the show, in the same time, culturally, the dynamics of teams have shifted equally so. Like they're no longer sort of a one-dimensional drink a few beers after a game, that'll be good for team culture. It's so much more evolved. There's so many more dynamics now. There's so many things at play compared to what team environments looked like 20 years ago at the 1995 World Cup, right? Like it's that comparison. Is the Jonah is no longer the big guy anymore, and the cultures are no longer the same at all anymore. It's 100%. The whole landscape has changed.
Yeah, the connection is different. How you connect with people. There's a lot more movement of people and players from country to country, from club to club. There's a lot more of that. Whereas again, back in the day, you're very loyal. There was a big loyalty thing. Not many people moved. Not many people moved. And where that's definitely changed now. It's a job. It's a full-time job. It's not a hobby anymore. It's not you're getting paid to do something like that is pretty special. But the connection piece, you got to connect with people quicker.
How do you do it?
I think you've got to drive it in your culture. So your head coach has got to drive stuff like that. So the fun you have. So we've got a guy, Lockie McCaffrey. He drives all our connection piece. Incredible bloke, incredible knowledge of people around him. Well, it's going to the races together. It's getting on a boat together. It's getting down the beach or running your QG steps and then coming down and having a coffee on the beach in the morning. It's doing a get to know a tar type thing every Thursday afternoon where he sits there and he interviews a player and players can ask questions and stuff. I think that's the connection. The backs going out together and the forwards doing this and they're doing that. Little prizes that you give to guys that perform during the week, or just the little things that build the connection within the team. But it's got to be driven from the top. But then the players have got to drive it. It has to be the players that drive it. But the coaches have got to implement it, and having somebody like Lockie McCaffrey in there who's exceptionally good with it and it just shows the caring side of it, care and connected.
It's sort of just hollows, isn't it? The connections, the games, the little things, the coffees, that stuff is the new reality, isn't it? Like whether you like it or not, that's the reality of team sports, probably not just rugby, but modern team sports and team environments. Those things are actually what you got to do if you want to have a good one.
Yeah, it's just like, just little things like end of the week, you bring whoever you support NRL, you wear your rugby jersey in the gym for that session, and you have a bit of banter with everybody, and you do it that way, sort of thing. I know New Zealand used to wear their club socks or their club jersey to a team meeting on a Tuesday night. They would then have a drink and they'd get players to stand up and speak about where they came from and how they got to where they got to. So all that stuff is because there's so many things in players' lives that people don't know about.
Yes.
And if you could tap into that sort of side of it, it becomes a lot more personal. You get a lot more connected, and therefore you do work that extra little bit harder for your mate next to you.
Oof.
And you do drive. You want to be together. Sydney's a big place. But there's no excuse. If you want to be connected to this team, you have to get together. and you've got to make an effort to get together, and you've got to want to do it. And if you want to do something, it'll work.
Oh, if you want to do something, it'll work.
That's the want, Ben. You've got to want to do it. If you want to catch a high ball, you've got to catch a high ball. You got to want to. You got to want to do it.
I love it, mate. I love that immensely, mate. And Sydney is a very big place, mate. It's a very big place too. But to be fair, there's so many great spots to connect to beaches and things that it's not really a chore. Now,
No.
Mike, we've got to the end, mate. This has absolutely flown by. So
Wow.
I'd like to ask you this last question, my friend, is
Yeah.
this. What is one belief you have about culture that you reckon your peers or contemporaries would disagree with?
Oh,
Take that.
I don't see, I'm one of those people that don't look too deeply into things, Benny. I don't look too deeply into things. I don't know, because so many people disagree with so many different things. You know, you're not going to please everyone. But if you get the majority of people believing in what you do or how you do it, or how you think culture should be run, then great. But I think, I don't know. That's a tough question to answer, mate. Sorry, I'm not going to be able to answer that one.
Oh, mate.
Because it's all relevant. It's all so relevant. Everything we spoke is all so relevant. If it's, yeah, fun, enjoyment, loving it.
What about this one for you, Mike? That when you get run over by an absolute legend and icon of the game, it's okay to sit and smile and laugh. A lot of people would disagree with that, I reckon. But you've said today that you just had to. Otherwise,
but the other funny thing to that is everybody forgets that 8 years later I was lifting a World Cup trophy and Jonah never left one. Poor bugger. If anybody deserves to lift a World Cup trophy, it was Jonah Lomu.
Yes.
So I could just come straight back. So whenever I get abuse like that, I go, well, unfortunately, at least I won the World Cup in 2003. So that sits nicely with me.
I love it, mate. That's the South African competitive upbringing, mate, from your Port Elizabeth upbringing.
Yeah, arrogance or whatever you call it. But anyway, yeah. It's a good comeback line. It's a good comeback line.
Now, Mike, what a pleasure to have you on the podcast today. I'd like to finish with just summing up my 3 takeaways from this conversation, this awesome conversation with you, mate, whilst you've been sitting watching the sun go down on Coogee Beach. Number 1, this concept of no dumb questions in a culture. And I love it because we briefly talked about an old culture was about surviving and the new culture is about thriving. And in new cultures, there's no dumb questions. Questions of any sort add to clarity. And if you're thinking it, there's a high probability someone else in the group is thinking the same. So having a culture where there's no dumb questions is a great culture to have. Number 2, I really enjoyed how you talked about calmness is almost like a skill set you can work on, and it's been a big focus for you in all the teams you've been in. You made the phrase that if you go at 100% at what you're doing, you don't always get to feel what success looks like and feels like. So calmness is a mental state and a physical thing you can train. And when you knock down the intensity to 30-40%, you get to learn how the movement and action feels, and then you can build it up. And I think it's a great reinforcement for a lot of coaches to remember that calmness, both physically and mental, is a great thing for rugby players to do because they are in a game which inherently isn't calm. So it's wonderful. Number 3, this phrase about making it matter. And this is huge for culture. Make it matter. Make it more than a game. And you talked about 𝐼𝐸 particularly and Andy Farrell about making the country care, because the country does care, and making your players aware. But it's not just at international level. It's wherever level you're playing at, whether you can make it matter to the people that are playing the game for you as a coach. Make it more than a game. Make them representing and doing something for a cause and something bigger than the game itself. Mike Catt, what an absolute pleasure to have you on the Coaching Culture podcast today.
Thank you very much for having me, Ben.